excellent condition. So this is good. Did I have any other stream back then? Did I? I have no idea. Let's just skip through all this. Okay, great. Let me go ahead and skip through all the things I've already been through because that video is not going to be going anywhere. It is not going to be deleted. So this is going to take like 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, nothing more than that. So this is, it took me like a whole song to reach out up until that point. Yeah, okay. This was not that long. I mean, there's still, we have not even been like quarter way through the story yet. So I have no idea. Okay, we are back at her place, Mallory's place here. Oh, I would have never imagined it back then. Wait, where did we go? We've gone so far away. We need to go back and until the same point. So I'll just recap the story till then for that matter, and we are now in the protagonist point of view of Tristan's mother, who had tried to kill him as well because she is a mass murderer. Well, where are we now? Okay, she goes into her thing, and here goes some chats. How long is this still? Okay. A crumbled tower, the LC face, hello face. You don't know how to react, you can, okay. We have already been through this. Socotrine was not the only thing that changed though. I look over at Mallory as she brings teacup to her lips. She was now a lovely, fully matured woman. So I'm gonna save this to a second slot. Let me see how long the story is from here, and then we're gonna load back in here. Okay, this is gonna take a long while, so we are only going to, okay, we have already reached this far. I didn't know we had already reached this far. It took like quite long to reach this stage. Okay, just let it just slide in. Let it just slide in. Yup, we are finally getting to that point. We will make it through though. We will make it through soon enough. So tomorrow we can finish this game, kind of, maybe. I don't know. The fire of collapse had begun. Okay, whatever. I shouldn't show you these, but some spoilers for me as well, some spoilers for you as well. I haven't played this game before anyway, so yeah, this is what it is. So I have still yet to play. I have not even finished a quarter of the game yet. There is a long way ahead of us. Back here, we're using the same stuff again, and we are still not a quarter way through. And it still doesn't end here. Nothing but despair, everything is there. Okay. It is still so long though. I didn't know it was this long. That looks awfully like Yuri. Why does it look that way? What? Back to the same thing again. Okay. Let's do this again. This is so freaking long. Yet it is still not over. How can people finish this in 8 hours? It is taking me more than double the time to do that. I don't think 2 hours is enough to finish this game, but I will try my best to do that. There's still a long, long way to go to reach this point, and it still isn't over. Yep, I'm singing for whatever reason. No, just go on, go on, go on, go on. Go, it still isn't over. They still have yet to reunite. It would still be a very long video if I just skip through all the dialogues like this. Oh, bro. This is taking so long. Still, wow, we have finally reached the point of final ending, and there is a lot of dialogue here as well. So we are just skipping through all these dialogues and see how long this actually is. Looks like this is actually very long way to go. So we're taking about 10 hours more, but I'm only going to stream for 1.5 hours more, so who cares, right? Okay, whatever. There's some jumpy moments in this thing as well. So that is it. That is the end of the story. Tristan is there. That is how the story ends. But we're gonna load it right here. And okay, start this from here. Happily married and mother to 3 healthy children. 3 children? God! Look at this picture of it. Very bright future. I would have never imagined it back then. I can still remember holding a sobbing figure whenever she awoke in the middle of the night. You were always the one finding a way to provide for us back then. I wanted to be able to protect you as well, instead of always being the one protected. Your strength and kindness, it always envied it. I've always envied it, Amy. I'm not a kind person, nor am I strong. I was just desperate. The period between Adelise birth and Master Revolution, survival had balance on the edge of the knife. But there is always a way to wait so long as one is willing to get their hands dirty. Oh yeah, her sister. Okay. I have no regrets about the path of carp. Mallory and Aloyd are here now today. We're alive, along with all the others we hold dear. And that's all that matters to me. You really are a fine person, Abby. I'm not. You are. It didn't seem like she's budged on the issue. Stubborn. Geez, how come you accept it when the tune says it, but not when I say it? I hate him when he says dumb things like that. Ooh. Do you remember how I met my hubby? No, actually, why don't you tell the story again for the 960th time? Oh, when did you become so sassy, Amy? My first meeting with Itone was so romantic. Finishing a suicidal man out of Evigate in the rain doesn't strike me as very romantic. Finishing a suicidal man out of Evigate in the rain. You're just wording it unflatteringly. Itone Basia, a young man who had lost his entire family to plague. Mallory met Itone for the first time while crossing the fatal bridge that overlooked Evigate. Known by it epithet Heaven's Fall, it was a place where the lost and weary yielded their lives to a river of eternity. Even if the drops didn't kill you, being carried by beyond Socotrine's border by Evigate was a death sentence. Prolonged exposure to the myth wreaked havoc on the mind and body after all. It was really surprising though, it was very surprising how calm he seemed. Oh, Amy, humor me a bit, would you? Standing on the very edge of Heaven's Fall, ready to cast it all away, that was when Mallory came up to him under the rain. Hello, I'm Mallory. Can I come over and talk to you for a bit? And they just listened to him. They didn't even make the character sprite for her husband. What? She didn't tell him, nor did they make the character sprite for the adult version of Mallory. They just ignored them. They could have just put a bit more effort. It's lent an ear and encouraged him to go on. They continued on for a while, but then, I want to thank you, Mallory, but I have to go. To the one before her, about to forfeit his life, Mallory spoke. Please live. But her plea fell upon unhearing ears. Without any hesitation, he stepped into the air. Of course, Mallory was not the life that could ever walk away from that. She plunged into the water after him, dragged his unconscious figure and land and pounded the breath back into him. When Itone awakened, he could understand what had been saved. He had already given up on everything after all. Please live and suffer. What Mallory had to say were not words of comfort, though. Please live and suffer. What kind of words are that to a suicidal man? What? Rather, what came from her mouth was a harsh decree. The only truth of this world is that you need not suffer alone. Won't you suffer with me? Won't you suffer with me? Real courting words those are. Alright, maybe romantic isn't the best way to describe it. But our first meeting was really something. Jumping into Abigail on a rainy day. His aunt is such a bonehead. I guess you could say you fell for each other that day. Literally, dude, what? Suddenly the atmosphere freezes over. No way. Could it be? Did it just make a joke, Amy? No, you're imagining things. Mallory clutches her stomach as it bursts into laughter. It was a nice one too. Amy making a joke. Ha ha. Tears were visibly squeezing out under her eyelids, such was the extent of her laughter. Oh, what's next? Is fire going to rain from the sky? I click my tongue. I tune make thumb stroke all the time, so it might have rubbed off on me, that's all. Oh my skies. Are you blushing? It can't be. How is my Amy this cute? A shit-eating rain on her face. Mallory noisily starts squeezing my cheeks again. If my cheeks are flushed, it was because you hound them all the time. But while I object, I make no real effort to resist. I guess you could say I really didn't dislike it all that much. Now that I think about it, you never told me how you met Uptune. I wanted to hear about it. Please? Steve presses her. Fine. It was around a year or so after the Master's Revolution. Lunch break. I was on lunch break when it happened. I shut my eyes as memories of that time overtake my vision. It's cold. I dip my bare feet into the water and watch as the little waves lap around my ankles upon a secluded grove. Though hardly as that far away, not many seem to know about this place. It's peaceful. Time ceaseless as bounds, time's in different passes. Tick tock it goes, but the clock's unyielding hand. A dial that chases after nothing too peaceful. I hold my hand out before me. It was a foreign sensation. Could steal red hot blood, images that have long overlapped with my hand. They were not there. The taste of another's fading life once intimate to me. It was now nothing more than a distant memory. I wonder why. It makes me feel so empty. I was like being suspended in a dream I could not awaken from, one with layers that ran deep, continuing on and on no matter how many I peeled off. I didn't make sense, but it made me feel so uneasy. As I pondered my reflection, the water surface changes. The reflection of a young man appeared next to mine. Though I had him coming, I had expected him to continue past me. Annoying enough though, he starts speaking to me. Oh, now we see them. Now we see her. Hello there, miss. Do you mind if I sit down next to you? A meanie. Wanting him to just go away, I don't reply. He doesn't seem to get the cue. I've noticed you sit there all the time every day. It's a nice place, isn't it? I'm pretty fond of it myself. Maybe you don't actually like this place though. Since you've always sitting here, you probably like it, right? Yeah, that makes sense, I think. Hahaha. Wow, this is so weird. Approaching a new girl, it is always like this. They just don't respond. They just don't. Just ignore. Like, what? I'm trying to approach. This happens all the time. Unless they're already attracted to us or something. He scratches his head awkwardly. To tell the truth, I'm not very good at talking to girls. Me neither. Same. Cheers. Let's go. Okay, I guess that's Belly, but she doesn't really count. Who's Belly? Wow, she'd totally be mad if you heard me say that. Oh, that's not to say I think you're just a girl though. You look pretty mature. Though you also look pretty young. I mean you're pretty? How long was he going to keep babbling? Though I had no real interest in him, an appetizing aroma causes me to turn my head in his direction. He was carrying a bag of bread. Unfortunately, Adelise had eaten my lunch last night, meaning food was invariably going to catch my attention. Skipping a meal every now and then was hardly a cause for concern, but Mallory had scolded her to the point of tears. You've seen one before, right? He cringes at his idiotic question even as he leaves his own mouth. My God, Artune. Of course he's seen a loaf of bread before, you dunce. Dunes. Reaching into his bag, he takes a loaf in his hand and holds it out. I stare at the steaming bread before me. You're giving it to me? Yeah. Oh, that's the first time I heard your voice. It sounds cool, like nothing can faze you. Unless you want to be phased. It's nice to be phased every once in a while. What is phased? What is phase? Phase. Disturb or disconcert. Okay, disconcert. Disturbed. It's nice to be disturbed every once in a while. Ignoring his incessant chattering, I take the bread and make quick work of it. Wow, you must have been pretty hungry. Not to say you're not fat or something, if you weren't, haha. My name is Attune. You said it before while muttering to yourself. Yeah, Attune. Attune Lyrit, that's my name. Attune looks expectantly at me. He was probably waiting for me to give him my name. Silent. So, nice weather, huh? Attune turns to the pond and laughs nervously. I know. You know there's a story that's been passed down about this pond? Story? Yep. Legend has it that long ago this pond was used by a mother to drown her child who suffered from crippling birth defects. The mother wished to release the child from its painful fate, but her despair was such that she held herself under the surface until she drowned as well. Back then, this pond has apparently been so black and filthy you couldn't see the bottom of it. People believed it to be haunted, claiming sobs and cries could be heard from it in the dead of night. A priest was shown the pond and asked to exorcise it, but to that request the priest said something baffling. He said that he had never seen a more pure and pristine pond in his life. Cupping his hands in prayer, he drank the dirty water reverently in the shock of the villagers around him. As the people discussed what happened in the town meeting, one person stood up and claimed that the pond had always appeared clear and pristine to their eyes. The days passed by with more and more people speaking of the pond as beautiful until everyone was saying it. Then one morning, the townspeople awoke to discover that the pond had transformed to become the reality they claimed was the truth. Attune bends down and splashes the sparkling water idly with his hand. It is said that at a certain time of day, if one sits here all alone, the sound of a cooing mother and a laughing baby can be heard. It's a strange story, isn't it? Something about the story resonated with me, stirring something deep inside. May I ask you something? What color is this pond? It's just blue, right? Indeed. I dip my hands into the pond and scoop out a handful of water. What color is the water in my hand? It's clear. It doesn't have a color. So it changes color? Tin scratches his head. I guess that's how it works. Even the water is actually clear. If enough of it becomes together in one place, it'll look blue. I see. So it's a lie. Attune says it's silent. Isn't it fine though, even if it's a lie? I think it's beautiful. Wait. It's real to me and I believe in it. So you don't need to make a face like that. What kind of face had I been making? Anyways, I had to be off now. It was nice talking to you. Attune turns to leave, but his shoulders slump. Amini. Huh? My name. Amini. He smiles widely. What a wonderful name. Will you be here tomorrow? Perhaps. Alright, I'll see you then, Amini. Like an overexcited child, Attune turns and runs off. Yeah, I got her name. He fist bumps vigorously as he scampers away, causing the bread to fall from his arms and scatter all over the ground. Moldy onions! Look what you've done now, Attune. Oh, I hope she didn't see me. Well, Celine says, oh my gosh, you two is so adorable, so romantic. Mallory, please. He tried to woo me with a story about a mother who suicided their disabled child. There's something wrong with your sense of romance. What? I think I figured out the way to your heart, Amy. You're going to say something stupid, aren't you? Remember when you first met, the first thing I did was give you a loaf of bread too? You're like a cat. You only open up to someone if they feed you. You can't be serious. A shit-eating green one. What? What's starting to get on my nerves? Oh, I'm so glad you told me that story. I'm regretting it now. Oh, is that Aluid I see? What are you doing up, sweetie? Aluid was speaking into the room from the kitchen doorway. It had gotten quite late during my stay. Aluid can't sleep. Come here, you. Louis rushes over and buries herself in her mother's warm embrace. Geez, you're such a spoiled child. Even as Mallory says that, she indulges herself as well, rubbing her cheek against Louis' hair. Auntie Emine is here too. Next, Louis scurries her and hops into my lap. She was rather attached to me since I had raised her alongside Mallory for so much of her life. Will you be joining for us for tea as well? Louis shakes her hand. Not sweet. Louis doesn't like tea. Mummy, where is Papa? When is Papa coming home? Idone was quite the workaholic. Since his workplace was far away, he was generally on the return home once a week. He's coming home tomorrow, actually. Yay! You should bring Attune and twins over, Amy. It'll be fun. Perhaps as well. Kalia and Tris are coming? Let's play, let's play! So she's a 10-year-old, typical 10-year-old. Yeah, right? She was pregnant when the 10-year-old thing happened. So yeah, I think she's 9 or 10-year-old. It makes sense for them to like play. Louis starts hopping around energetically at the prospect of us visiting. Oh, you're so full of energy now. How are you going to get back to bed? Play, play. I'll be taking my leave now. It's getting rather late. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow then. Maybe. Gee, she always gives me such non-committal answers, Sammy. Say goodbye to Auntie Amy, Louis. Bye-bye, tomorrow let's play. So this scene ends here as well. Ha! I let our next exasperated sigh as I stand before the entrance of the backyard home. As I planned, I had brought Callie and Tristan over to play. However, why are you two hiding over there? The twins had taken refuge under my dress just as I was about to knock on the door. I wasn't particularly fond of the bloated appearance it was giving me. They're trying to get back to your original home. You already made that joke. What? Unbirthing? Dude. Whoa. I shoo the little runs from under me before proceeding to knock. That is such vulgar in a calming way. How did they even manage to do this? Even this rowdy duo can be unexpectedly shy at times. From beyond the door, a muffled "They're here" could be heard as the door popped open and a trio of heads poked out. It was the Patia children. Auntie Amini, Lenny had a riddle for you. We won't let you through unless you answer correctly. Diamond, who's that? What bird is with you at every meal? What? What bird is with you at every meal? Every meal a bird? It seemed like they were in quite the high spirits. I don't know, Robin? Finding it too much of a pain to think about, I answer with the first thing that comes to my mind. Where? Alert crosses her arms in the X-shape and makes a strange noise. We got it right on our first try though. Are we smarter than Auntie? The correct answer is Willow. Proud they had bested me, the patient children grinned stupidly in a way that reminded me of her mother. Such cheekiness. If you don't let me right now, I'll be the one swallowing you. Oh, they meant swallow, right? I see. Slowly bringing my face forward, I sour over the 3 diminutive children. I devour your souls. Eek! Scary, Auntie, scary. Drawn! 3 children immediately abandon the post, fleeing deeper into the house. As the door swings open, I spot Mallory and Idone at the living room table. Though he was a rare break from work for Idone, he was characteristically rigid, at attention as if ready to move on a moment's notice. You need help seasoning these little munchkins for Amy? Mallory waves to me as the children cover behind her. You might want to consider getting new gatekeepers. Jeez, that was pretty easy riddle too. Peering up at him, Kalia tucks on Attune's sleeve. Swallow? She tilts her head. A swallow is a birdie. Kneeling down before her, Attune forms a bird with her hands and starts flapping his fingers. Bird! Brrr! Trish tries to imitate Attune's hand motion but only succeeds in tangling his fingers up in silly arrangements. To swallow food, Attune points at his throat and gulps, is the same word as the swallow birdie's name. Attune mimics the bird once again with his hands. However, Kalia makes a distraught face at Attune's simple explanation. No, don't eat the birdie! Big wet tears began to roll down her face. To make matters worse, upon seeing his sister crying, Trix immediately starts crawling as well. Ah, I messed up. Tim slumps to the ground, completely the disastrous scene before me. Ah, it's just one hassle after the other between those two little scamps and the scatterbrained hubby. I wonder what my wife say about me. I bet she'd say the same thing. Meanwhile, the Becher family laughter fills the house as they watch over our standing performance. Today's going to be a long day, isn't it? After our overly colorful intro settles down, the four adults find ourselves conversing at the table when Tris wanders up to us. Oh, you brought the toy I made with you? In his hands was a mechanical contraption that Attune had finished building yesterday. It looks cute. Does it do something special? Attune nods and turns to Tris. Go ahead and show it to others. While it seemed difficult for him to wind up by himself, when Kalia chipped in and they worked together, it was a feasible feat even for their sticky little hands. Upon release, a simple melody begins to flow from the device, causing the pages to gasp and widen their eyes. Wow, it's playing music, says Mallory. She is surprised. Inspired by UEL design, Vega. You're as amazing with the hands as always, Attune. Wait, this tune, I know the song it comes from. Daya folds his hands and furrows his brow. Can I see it, please? Though I expect the twins to act possessively, they hand it over to Lynette fairly easily. If only they could learn to share that will with each other. I mean, they can give to others, but they can give to each other. A good thing that happens between twins, right? I knew it. I think it's Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. No way, it's definitely the alphabet song. Mom thinks you children are making a mistake. Wait, they're all like little chipmunks. So these two are very small, these two are a little big, and this is the oldest girl. I knew it. Yep. It sounds like Baba Black Sheep to me. Without a care in the world, Callie and Tris watch Lynette fiddle with the device as the argument escalates around them. Why don't we ask the original creator? What song did he build the device to tune? That's a tough question. I was only thinking of the melody when I made the music box. Sorry, I don't know what song it comes from either. A pensive silence takes the whole of the room at Attune's confession. Nobody knew who was right anymore. Was the tune Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, alphabet song, or Blah Blah Black Sheep? The truth is, unexpectedly, the one to break the silence was Lynette. Everyone's right. It's all the same tune. A wave of commotion spread through the room at Lynette's claim. Is that really so? Can you prove it, Linny? Yeah, just listen. Lynette takes a deep breath and begins to sing. Ba ba black sheep, E F G. How I wonder how you are. Waving in the lyrics from all three songs. Lynette sings to the tune of the device without missing a beat. Wow, it's true, Linny, it's so amazing, says Adelise. I see. Attune nods gravely, his arms crossed in the voice of an intellectual. Lynette would know best since he loves learning new lyrics and singing so much. All of a sudden, though, he stands rising with such a force of Jay slams against the ground behind him. That's my little songbird for you. The veins on his temple begin throbbing like the visceral embodiment of a fireless bride. Meanwhile, startled by the sudden loudness, Callie and Tris start under my dress, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Don't default to hiding under my dress. I'm wearing pants next time. They're trying to get back. I've heard that joke enough times already. Oh gosh, I remember Linny and Dia used to do that to me all the time. Mom, it's red. Dia's face is all red. It's comfy down there. Okay, getting caught up in the atmosphere. The adults end up playing around with the children for pretty much the whole day. Eventually, though, some guy decides to take pity on us as the Rapscallions finally grow tired and start dozing off on the carpet. With the kids out of commission, a moment of peace and quiet finally descends upon the house. Geez, you sure have a lot of energy, don't? A tune flashes his face as he settles back into his seat at the dining room table. Even when playing, one must give their all. Work hard, play harder. Haha, your husband knows. No, chill, Mallory. The children really enjoyed the piggyback rides we gave. Though I bet they would have liked if Amy pitched in more. Don't talk to me right now. I don't understand how the children have so much energy. I think it's really admirable, though you don't. Even though your blood does not run through Alouette, you treat her as your own. She is blessed to have such a wholehearted father. While I appreciate your word, Attune, you are mistaken about something. It was not I who accepted Alouette. When I had nothing left in the world, it was she who accepted me. Idon brings his hands to his chest in a heartfelt sincerity. Alouette, Mallory, Namini. It's because of your strength and compassion that I still draw breath here and now. And while Alouette may speak oddly and seem dull at times, she has the biggest heart of any girl in the world. It is I that am blessed to have such a wonderful daughter. The four of us watch warmly up over the children's sleeping shoulders. Alouette's always been an affectionate girl. All the little ones will huddle up against her as they slept. It seemed her head pats were quite popular. You'd never know by the way she acts, but the poor child's had it rough at school. Since she speaks so childishly, she often gets teased. Lynette and Dia are good siblings, though. They always stand up for her like the little champs. It was somewhat amusing how differently they all slept. While Callie and Chris snoozed with spread limbs and open mouths, Lynette and Dia seemed fond of curling into cozy little purrs. Then there was Alouette, who slept with her arms wrapped around everyone, like as if cradling something precious. There was no mistake. If there's something in life worth protecting, it's this. Have I told you, by the way? We're hoping to get a bigger house for ourselves soon. The children are growing bigger so quickly. After all, they need the space. Is that why you're working also like a mule? Ahaha, it's been my dream for a while. We've already saved up quite a bit. Is that so? In that case, why don't you contract my place when the time comes? I'll be sure to put lots of love into it. The tune extends a hand with a big smile. Sounds like a plan. Returning the smile, Idon grabs his hand firmly. So there's a business partnership now. Let's look forward to the future together, not as two different families, but as one big family. It was a warm sentiment where both parties dreamed of a bright future, dripping, overflowing with promise. But for some reason I couldn't bear to look at it. The future they spoke of, it was simply too bright, too dazzling. I need to save this. I need to save this. Yup, let's save it. Let's do it. After a short chat, Mallory and I step outside to take a stroll at her request. Don't the stars look so pretty tonight, Amy? The sky was indeed quite clear tonight, but the starry sky has never been a sight I have found compelling. It was just like the rest of the world after all, colorless. Everyone looks up at the same sky, don't they? Even if we look at the same thing, we'd see different sights. I pulled my gaze back down on Earth. That's right, I haven't forgotten the promise I made to you. This beautiful sky I see, I want to show it to you. I want to look up at the sky together. Today, tomorrow, the day after. I'll make that wish come true. So please, Amy, don't stop looking up. Familiar warmth, Mallory's hand. It takes my chin lip and lifts my gaze to the heavens, a world full of color, reflected in Mallory's eyes as a world different from what I saw, one that always been out of reach. Through living by her side, I had hoped to make the vision mine, but maybe it's already happened. Maybe the color has slowly been seeping into my world ever since that day 15 years ago. Mallory, what a cute kitty. Mallory breaks into a jog all of a sudden to catch up to a wandering cat we happen across. No matter how many times I tell you, it seems you won't break this habit. Mallory was feeding the cat chicken. Oh, it is a kitchen scraps that she always kept on her person for moments like this. I remember you used to scold me all the times when I did this back then. Of course, food was hardly plentiful enough to be feeding stray animals. I know, it's always just been satisfying my ego. Even if it's helped them for the time being, making an animal dependent on others to survive is self-suppressing. It's the same as wanting to protect something. It's not noble at all. It's greedy and selfish. I want to protect it. Those words are the clock of a weakling hides behind to seem strong. You've always been like that. A crybaby who gets easily lonely but tries to be strong. Why is that? It's just I want the people who smile at me to keep smiling for me. I gave pause at Mallory's words. I couldn't see what kind of expression she had, but her silent back seemed somehow different from usual. Amy, remember the garden we used to have back at the orphanage? How we had little parcels to land to care for? The image of a young Mallory singing as she watered crops revived me in my mind at her urging. Remember how you could make yours blossom? Soil quality, water management, and sun exposure, though. Though I had meticulously accounted for all those factors, my parcel only ever met middling success. Living things need more than just nourishment to live. Suddenly, the cat recoils and darts off into the night. I was surprised. Mallory is uncannily good with animals. For one to flee from her was unheard of. That's when I noticed, trembling outstretched hand, the damp ground before her, wet from raindrops of a clear night sky. I don't understand. It's peaceful. So very peaceful, yet for some reason. I'm happy but I'm scared. I'm satisfied with so little, but at the same time I want more. I want these peaceful days to keep going on. It's the same for me. These hands of mine are holding it. The soft warmth that is this peacefulness, yet I don't know what to do with it. It was something new to us. In our struggle to survive our day to day, we had only been able to look at what was right in front of us. For much of our lives, that was the only way we knew how to live. But that's no longer the case. Human beings are frightening, adaptable creatures. There are times when we adapt so well it dissociates us, confounds us. It's strange. I can't stop trembling. I watch on as Mallory lowers her head and hugs her knees. I never imagined happiness would be feel this fragile. I'm so terrified of losing it. Just the mere thought that paralyzes me. Well, I suppose we know why the cat ran away, Miss Sunshine. Mallory goes silent. Then, without warning, she begins to laugh. Ha 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 ha! A mirthful laugh leading away the anxiety. That's the second joke I've ever heard you make. I never knew how much I needed a wise, cracking Amy in my life. Oh, you're so cute. She hops over to me and begins squeezing my cheeks. Cheh, not again. Hey, Amy. What is it now? Thanks for cheering me up. Leaning in close, he kisses me on the cheek. You're not welcome. Are you blushing? I think you're blushing. It's dark, you're imagining things. My dear Amy can be this cute. Shush you. With a spring in her step, the two of us make our way back home. As I listen to her with a bright smile on her face, I gaze up at the sky above. It was a tiny feeling, a little tugging at the corner of my heart. But for a fleeting second, I thought it looked beautiful. I can't see the same world Narrowly does. I might never be able to see it, but even then, it's fine. So long as I have her by my side, she'll be enough color for both of us. She'll see enough color for both of us. Thank you for coming today, Miss Lirette. I know it'll be a while until Callie and Tristan leave daycare for informal into preschool, but there's a lot of logistical things with the new educational system that I'd like to get out of the way. It's fine. Trish seems to be enjoying himself anyway. The young school teacher looks back into the classroom where Trish was timidly playing with the other children. Did you bring his sister with you, by the way? My husband was supposed to bring her. Knowing him, though, he's probably conveniently lost. He's not very fond of paperwork. Haha, I know anyone who is. I'm not sure I know anyone who is. I'm sure Kelly is as cute as Tristan, though. I look forward to teaching them. The woman's earnest smile makes me melt. Ooh, what? Makes me falter. I wasn't good at dealing with people that could be so open-hearted with someone they just met. Somehow I understood, though. This woman would be a fine person to leave the little one with. However, when I open my mouth to voice something to that effect, something cuts me off. For a split second, the world goes deathly quiet. What? My body lurches off balance as the ground from a violent shakes. Instinctively returning to the side, I brace myself against the wall and strokes and lies sealed whistling through the air. The rumbling rattles deep in my bones and I enter the weather to storm. After what seems like an eternity, slowly tapers off. Heat, the crackling of flames, those are the first thing I notice when the salt of my senses subsides. Everything is burning. Everything is burning. The fire of collapse is here. Blinking several times, I confirm my vision is still functioning. Ooh, ah. pinned to the ground beneath the mountain of flaming debris. The young school teacher groaned. There was something odd about the fire. The way he shifted was nauseating. The children, smoking, panicked voices were leaking from the classroom Trish was in. Taking up my disorientation, I grabbed the doorknob and tried to force it open, but it doesn't budge. Even when I step back and throw my entire body weight against it, I make no headway. The door was too badly mangled. Two doors down, storeroom. Ugh, gah. I found in the blood spills from her mouth was an axe. The unusual fire had spread on to her legs, but she doesn't seem to notice as the flames etched bizarre patterns onto her exposed flesh. Her spine must have been utterly crushed if she couldn't feel it. 2 doors down, heeding her instruction, I dashed down the hallway and banged into the storm. From each of the classroom I passed, a certain type of voice that started my pulse was leaking. It was the type of voice I'm woefully familiar with, that of human anguish. Clamping down on myself, I killed my thoughts. Right now, Trish's safety was my priority. I didn't need to think about anything else. Snatching an emergency axe from the corner, I raced back to the classroom. Hurry! Even as her own life breathed away, the trapped human person, aiming slightly offset the doorknob, I bring down the axe. The door splits on the impact. I drive my heel into it, causing it to give separate from its frame. It lost. Masking my face with a handkerchief, I lower around and crawl into the smoking room. Several small corpses were spreading along the floor near the door, having berries from asphyxiation. Chris, where are you? My muffled shout rings out the MS of thin fire, braving the searing heat. I must push deeper. I push deeper into the room, and even as the lack of oxygen and smoke stretches down on me, a series of very audible thoughts. A pivot in the little figures lying on the ground. Tris! His leg was trapped under the wooden beam. Rushing over to him, I position the neck of the axe beneath the debris and pry it up so he can pull free. Though he tries to stand, I immediately press the handkerchief to his face and push him lower to the ground as I lead him out. Him getting stuck was a stroke of luck. His spears had likely suffocated him, trying to escape in the smoke, while his entrapment forced him to stay immobilized and low to the ground. Though he was limping slightly, it was minor compared to how it could have ended up. Upon exiting the classroom, I find the injured school teacher looking up at me. Her eyes focused weakly on me, but it didn't seem like she had the strength to say anything. Down the hallway, the sound of flashing rings as the burning city began to collapse. There was no time. She couldn't be saved. The old me would have left her behind, would have batting an eyelid, but maybe something that changed, maybe within the air. She'd done enough. Kneeling before her, I gently eased her eyes shut. Rest now. A faint smile graced her features as tears squeezed out from beneath her eyelids. The least I could do was end her suffering. I killed her with an axe. Without looking back, I raced down the hall with Triss in one arm and the axe in the other. I fly down the stairs only to find the door on the first floor shut. Reaching rather than reach the doorknob though, I pressed the back of my hand against the wood. Hot. I instinctively jogged away. This way was no good. Doubly glad I had a window out of the staircase. It was a fair distance off the ground, but it would have to do. Using the knob of the axe to clear away the grass, I wedged the blade into the wood. Then I grip the handle and lean outside. As I do, the head nukes into the window frame, acting as a fulcrum that swings me back towards the wall. Holding Trish close, I stretch down as far as I can go before letting go. Although the maneuver shaves off some of the fall, the force of drop still causes me to sink into my knees. What is this? Everything is burning. Everything is burning with not flame we are familiar with. Everything is purple, pink, green, yellow and stuff like that. When I look up, an unbelievable sight greets me. Though it was midday, the entire sky had darkened over. An unending din of screams and groan fills the air as patches of the unusual fire sweeps down. What was going on? What was the fire that suddenly descended from the sky? There were questions that would have to wait. Leading Trish into a spot of relative safety, I kneeled down and examined his body. His skin was marked with soot, but he didn't appear to be burned anyway. He had been lucky to sleep unharmed. Tristan said nothing, but while his body was fine, there was still cause for concern. No answer, no response. Silently stares off into space as tears rolled down his face. It'll be alright, Tris. I wiped the tears and ashed away with my handkerchief before pouring a stash from my person. Yeah, this is so bad. Like, I had to go out for quite a while. I wipe the tears and ask away with my handkerchief before creating a sash for my person. Using it to tie tears to my back, I stand up and set up for home. Along the way, I see many things: a man cursing as he tossed bucket after bucket into a blazing house, a child crying out for help, unhurt by the mark that bent end of the street. A fire that could not be extinguished, a fire that could not be slowed. At some point, it even begins to rain. If the downpour does nothing to stymie the flames advance. A world turned upside down, a people ravaged for calamity. It was something I didn't want to show Triss, something I didn't want to push for him to see. Triss. Though the rain falling from its overhead is slow, cold, every now and then I can feel it, a faintly warm raindrop hitting the back of my neck. When we make it back home, I find our house untouched by fire. Kalia, a tune! No answer comes. So they did a good notice to detail by adding these fire sprites out here. And there's nothing out there though, but that's fine. They didn't seem to be home. This looks awfully similar to Mallory's home. Though their safety was a concern, searching for them blindly won't accomplish anything. Staying put was the best course of action. Placing a pot under the faucet, I began stockpiling water while the plumbing still seemed functional. For now, there was no guarantee that we continue to be the case. Just as I began taking inventory, the sound of door being knocked upon erupts from front of the house. I should have recognized who they were immediately, but their appearance was somehow wrong. Attune! I rushed to his side as he collapses to the ground, an unmoving Kalia cradled in his arms. His hands were blackened with strange marks from the mysterious flame, while Kalia's hands, were simply no longer there. She had no hands now. She became limber. Searing heat, roaring fire. I forced my eyes open. At some point, my surroundings had transformed. A shattered crown crumbling to the ground all around me. Was it Socotrine? Under a burning sky, a rainbow-colored fire was ravaging the world. Panic seizes my heart as the fire swells, spreading its burning tendrils through the area. Daddy, Daddy, a familiar voice calls out. Kalia. She had fallen a short distance away. A giant mass of burning wood and stone was spinning her arms down. Oh, okay. So this is the story from the perspective of her husband. What was his name again? I forgot. Tune, yep. Kalia. Horrified, I went dash over her. Oh, Daddy! Her face confronts in tear-strained agony. It hurts. Hold on, Kalia. In a panic frenzy, I grabbed at the mess, pinning her down. A hissing sound reaches the air as I fresh bubbles from touching the rainbow flames. Gah! Kalia screams as the twisted mass shifts weight over her friend's arms. It hurts. Wah! I push until I can no longer feel my arm, for it doesn't bulge an inch. Damn it! Submitted by Kalia's cries, I howl in frustration before long, my shingled arms fall limply. To my side. I drop to my knees. Ugh, tick. Dizzy-headed from the smoke, Kalia's feeble voice barely listed into my murky consciousness. At this rate, Kalia was going to die. No, I won't accept a fate like that. Putting myself together, I scan the surroundings to my outside across the ground, looking for a cerebral object. A blackened side of metal with saw-like edge. I feel my sanity leave me as I grab it with trembling hands. I dig over the Kalia's trapped arms. Ah! Her heart-wrenching cries fill the air as I press the metal jagged edge into her arm, but I don't stop. Ah! Howling and crying like a little demon possessed. I saw vigorously feeding vivid red to the roaring fire. Before long I hit bone, but it didn't have time to saw it through. Pouring strength into my frame, I grab what remains of her arm, twist and whip up with a sickening snap of bone. This is so disturbing. The precocious flame, the sound of collapsing buildings. Driven by the menacing sensation, I hastily start cutting her other arm. Kalia stopped screaming at some point. I could tell from her faint, ragged breathing and weakly shut eyes. I see was at her limit though. We were out of time. Praying it was enough, I grabbed Kalia with both hands and planted it with my feet. I gripped my teeth, pulled it with all my might. The grotesque sound of meat tearing culminates with a gut-wrenching pop as Gallia's joint gives and she separates from her trapped lower arm. Coming backwards, I pivot and take her off take off with her in its jaw, weaving through the burning wreckages that block our path. Time and space seem to blur as I run, but eventually we make it to a safe location. Gasping for breath, I lower Kelly's limp figure into the ground to examine her arm stumps. It seems the fire had characterized most of her injury. They had left strangely patterned burn marks in the process now. In an attempt to fashion makeshift bandages, I tried to tear several strips of fabric into my throat, to only discover that my fingers are too damaged from the prolonged moments. My hands were covered in the strange pattern as well. Kalia, as the tension leaks from my body, the pain begins to resurface. I lift my head to see the Socotrine sky. That's when I notice all around me screams and groans are filling the air, greeting a theme of unending despair. Why? Why is this happening? I can't feel the rain. With a great difficulty, I managed to bend my fingers back, but though I can clearly see the rain falling and hitting my hand, I couldn't feel a thing. One day had passed since I passed up with Kalia and Atune. Between Kalia's amputated arms and the severe burns on Atune's hand, it wasn't difficult to deduce what had happened. At my side, Triss speaks over to where Kalia is resting. He looks back and forth between Kalia's absent arm and his own intact ones. A bead of sweat rolls down Atune's face as he writhes in pain. It's spreading again. A bizarre phenomenon plays out before me. Without warning, the marked areas on Atune's hand begin to glow. When the light subsides, I observe that the burn patterns have crept up his arms. The same thing was happening to Kalia's burns as well. It seemed the wounds inflicted by the unusual fire were harmful even after the initial infliction. It was like a disease or a curse. I had to find a way to treat it before it did any more damage. Watch over Daddy, Kalia and Triss. Food, water, and medical supplies had already been set down in arm's reach of the bed. Don't leave. Don't let anyone in. Retreating into my room, I made preferences to shut off. Locked drawer. For years, I had only ever touched it to maintain its contents. My heart beats not. After inspecting them one by one, I died in a holster, throwing knives around my neck. As I do, my eyes drift over the proof of my existence. A razor sharp butcher knife that curved to a tapered point. Breath does not come from my mouth. The scratches and chips that marred it were proof I had succeeded in carving a path to this day. Even after all these years, it still felt natural in my hand, as if it were but an extension of my body. And my feet do not tread upon this earth, for I am colorless. The weight of steel was the one and only obsolete truth in life, sincere and free of lies. It was that equality of purity that enabled to spill blood with ease. The boss was never something I could escape, was it? Concealing the knife from my person, I locked the door behind me as I leave. In contrast to yesterday's chaos, the somber silence had laid claim to a hazy morning air. So the situation had changed since yesterday. At some point, an inextinguishable fire had disappeared all at once, ending just as abruptly as it began. Only the smoldering remains it left behind could be seen now. I'll check up on Mallory first. Though it takes longer than usual to get to the Bashir household with all the debris, I arrived without complication. While their house appeared to be untouched, many of the neighbors had been less fortunate. I find Mallory in the streets, leaning over her victims who seem to have pulled off from the rubble. Mallory! Though I call out to her, she doesn't respond. It is only when I place a hand on her shoulder that she turns her face to me. Amy! Glazed hollow eyes that gaze through what they were supposed to focus on. Every person I had passed on the way that looked the same. Fire, Dawn, burn marks, Socotrine, Dia. Where is Dawn? Did he survive? I put it together by giving her something specific to focus on, but Mallory shakes her head. One of his colleagues came by and I don't know what to tell the children. There's no need to tell them now. Worry about that later. How are the children's condition? They're inside, although it hurt her leg. But other than that, she's okay. Lynette and Dia, though. I'll show you after I finish treating this man. Though her hands were trembling, she doesn't stop bandaging the wounded man before. It was like a desperate attempt to remain moving, as if she'd collapse under the pressure if she stopped. It was a way of averting one's eyes from reality. Forget it. Give up on him. If you insist on trying to help, conserve your energy for someone who has a chance of making it. A rag divulged splitting in the femoral, limbs entangled at impossible angles, and copious amounts of blood. It was clear from a glance that the man was already at death's door. Mallory hunches over and closes her eyes as her body stiffens to a halt. For a moment, I worry she'll restart her mindless act. You're right. But then she rises to her feet, determination filling her eyes. Let's head inside. The house painted over with silence. It was not long ago that laughter filled these halls. Guided by Mallory, I make our way to the room the children are in. Upon entering, the pitiful scene greets me. Laid out on the bed with Lynette and Dia, the bodies themselves and bandaged, their breath short and ragged. At the other end of the room, Eloise was sitting against the wall in a state of stunned silence. Her leg was injured and she didn't look capable of moving. Fortunately, she didn't appear to be burned anywhere. Have you noticed, Mallory? Have you noticed, Mallory? Yeah, their burns won't stop fretting. The rainbow fire did this to them. Rainbow fire. The burns were even more extensive than Callia's and Tune's. Several parts of Dia's back and face seemed afflicted, while burn marks were scattered all over almost a third of Lynette's body. I'll find a way to save them. Mallory's eyes widened at my declaration. How? Information is the first thing we need. I'm going to scope out our Aiken news. If anyone knows about anything about the rainbow fire, it's the ULs. Amy, are you sure? I won't fail. Callie and Tune are in the same situation after all. That's not what I mean. You're always like this. You always try to bear everything by yourself. It worries me. I just wanted to know that you have allies. Lean on me. Let me help. No, you shouldn't come. It might turn dangerous if you only slow me down. Amy, you can help us stocking up on supplies. I also left Tune in the trips and twins at home. I don't know how long I'll be gone, so I wanted to check up on them. It still looked like she had something to say though. I want you to believe in me, Mallory. Trust me. I clasped her hands. Okay, just be careful, alright? Promise me you won't do anything too reckless. I promise. The two of us entwine pinkies like in the old days. Hoo. We'll get through this, okay? Yeah. I'll be off then. As I turned to leave, my eyes caught John Eloise standing in the corner of the room. Though she had nothing, her face spoke for herself. It was as if she were lost in a sea of uncertainty. Before I know it, I find myself drifting over to her. Maybe it was something she reminded me of certain someone, but somehow I felt a desire to not leave her at home. Eloise, I placed her hand on the shoulder. Auntie, the adults are going to be busy from now on. We need you to watch the house and take care of Lynette and Dia while we're gone. It's an important job. Can you do it? She nods back at me, her expression regaining a bit of color. Eloise will do her best. Giving people a responsibility in crisis forces them to compartmentalize. The feeling that one had some control over the situation, it was an essential illusion. Please make Lynette and Dia better. I will, eyes full of hope. With that image pointed to my mind, I set up towards my next destination. Aiken News, a state-of-the-art hospital that had been renovated from the latest UL technology. For man in Socotrine, it stood as a symbol of hope. It had served as a forefront of our Lord and Master's successful campaign to eradicate all the plague after all. As expected, scores of people had already gathered in front of the main entrance. Slowing my pace, I drift through the crowd, catching bits. Oh God. I've been using my PC for so long, I've been feeling like carpal tunnel syndrome. I mean, my hands are just going brown. What the hell? It's kind of weird to think about it. Slowing my pace, I drift to the ground, catching bits of conversation as I pass by. Heard? Seems that they already know how to treat the burns. Something similar happened back at the homeland, calling it the fire of collapse. I know, but why did it just blow out the other day? About 20 people entered through the. Come back yet? Apparently, a cure already existed. That seemed too convenient to be true, though. Heeding my intuition, I make several rounds of the perimeter and commit the layout to memory. It seems victims with unconventional injuries were being accepted at the side entrances, while only with those with deviant burns were being admitted through the main one. Why is security so tight? Squads of the Socotrine guard were stationed everywhere, even the surrounding streets were heavily fortified. Considering the dire straits of rest of Socotrine, it was odd they had mobilized such manpower here. As I finish a rotation around the complex, I overhear commotion at the main entrance. Why can't I go in? My little boy's in there. We've already made this clear to you. Entry is prohibited to all the patients and medical personnel. Please, I just want to know if he's doing alright. Wait, is that them? Look, they're coming out. The crowd stirs as a column of people emerges from the hospital. All of them are scarred with the etchings unique to the rainbow fire. However, their burns look different, don't they? They're really cured. Something wasn't right though. After 20 they had supposed to go in, only around half had returned. What do you mean? Can't you just cure him like the rest? The mother from before was shouting frantically at the doctor accompanying the treated patients. Please understand, your son's injuries are very intensive in comparison. He's in critical condition and as such we need to continue monitoring. Why won't you listen to me? He's such a scarce boy. Waking up in a place he doesn't know surrounded by strangers, he'll be so scared. That's why I need to be here for him. I'm sorry, ma'am. Why are you apologizing? Just let me in. Let me see him. The mother pushes past the doctor and tries to enter the hospital only to be held back by the officer from before. Stop right there. Let me go. My son is in there. Gah! The officer clutches at his wrist as the woman flails wildly under her grasp. She bit me. Unsheathing his sword, he slams it hilt against the woman's head and drives her to the ground. But even then, she doesn't stop trying to enter. How many times do I have to tell you before you get it through your head? You can't go in! The officer begins to kick and stomp the crawling woman mercilessly. Let me see him, let me see him! The woman breaks into sobs as he tries to shield herself from the crushing blows. Nell! Shut up! The officer brings his foot down hard, silencing her as he tries to call out her name. Stop it! With an angry growl, the officer's partner grabs him by the collar and shoves him away. But the woman had already been rendered motionless in the dirt. What the hell do you think you're doing? Sure, I can't stand people like her. They act like they're the only one hurting in this world. It makes me sick. Turning his back on the woman, the officer spits into the dirt. You can't take it out on people. Many of them are going through the same thing, you know. Take a break and cool off. I'll get someone to cover. Doctor, can we get her a stretcher and take her through the side entrance? Yes, I'll get someone around right away. Meanwhile, a palpable tension had built up on the onlooking crowd. How could he do that to her? Are they hiding something? Why can't we go in? The guards on post tighten their formation as they bear the front of crowd's resentment. Attention, all victims suffering deviant burns from the fire collapse bullets line up in an orderly fashion. Stretchers will be provided for the incapacitated. For the remainder of the day, I continue to observe the hospital's activities. However, the same trend only continues to persist. 30 people would enter, but only 14 would exit. 40 would go in, but only 20 would return. Like clockwork, the cycle repeats again and again. So it's come to this. Interesting Callias and Neptune's lies to odds I didn't understand was unthinkable. There wasn't anything else I could discern from outside though. If I wanted to learn more, I would have to infiltrate the building. Cal and Neptune were getting worse by the day. Neptune's burn spread had already extended up his forearms, and Kalia wasn't faring much better. That reality weighs down on me as I make preparation to infiltrate the hospital. After sparing a layer of soot over my left arm, I wrap it up in bandages. Having observed the system several times already, I had determined that only a basic preliminary check was given at the entrance. Though they'll probably look more intensively later, I'll already be inside by then. Upon completing masquerade, I line up in the next wave of patients. When it comes my turn to be inspected, the doctor seems a bit more wary. Did that hurt? He asked after poking my fox wound. I didn't feel anything. Thinking quickly, I answered with a that seems unintuitive. Are you sure you touched me? Go on ahead. doctor notes before turning his attention to the next patient. Areas marked by the rainbow fire seemed to lose all feeling after all. It was only when the deviant burn spread that the victim experienced pain. I had learned that much from observing Callie and Attune. After passing the entrance checkpoint, our group gets cleared to enter. Several details stand out to me as we led deep into the building. Though it sounded like there was significant activity in the distance, the area we were being led through was utterly empty. Let's save this there. Yeah, I'm gonna play this for like 20 minutes more, and then I'm gonna end the stream because I don't want to finish the game in one go, right? I will finish this tomorrow though, for sure. I guarantee that, I think, probably. Though it sounded like there was significant activity in the distance, the area we were being led through was utterly empty. Even security detail was absent. It seemed the guards weren't authorized to enter this area. Moving around would still be difficult at this rate though. After being brought to a large junction, individual nurses began taking us one by one into separate rooms. The nurse assigned to me was wearing a surgical mask and had an average build. After leading me to check up rooms, she closed the door behind us. A raised stretcher, a counter with faucet, and a closed perfect. Okay, ma'am. Could you please remove the bandage on your arm and show me your burn? She begins preparing a syringe on the nearby counter. What's in the syringe? This is a mild relaxant meant to calm you down before the procedure itself be a little. After finishing her preparation, she tries to turn around, but I don't let her. I grab her by the wrist and press down on her shoulder blade, pinning her against the counter. What are you? Twisting the syringe out of her hand, I wrap my arm around her neck and cut off her circulation. What? Maintaining the choke until she goes limp, I insert the tip of syringe into one of her bulging blood vessels and press down on the plunger. Mild relaxant was an understatement. I had known from the beginning the sedative was intended to knock out the patient. After all, none of the mended victims outside had been able to discover the treatment process. They had all said they had fallen asleep and woken up cured. After stripping the nurse of her uniform, I tie her up using some cravats I find in the closet in the gallery, using the bandage on my arm. Then I place her in the closet in the recovery position, wash the suit from my arm, and don her uniform. Complete with mask and cap, it served as an excellent disguise. So far everything had gone as planned, but from here on I'll have to improvise. Bringing my ear to the door, I try to gauge the situation outside. It isn't units until several minutes pass that a general bustle begins to pick up. Choosing the moment to act, I enter the hallway. Upon exiting, I find myself amidst a stream of nurses carrying stretchers of the deviant burn victims. In addition to being rendered unconscious, the patients had stripped naked, exposing their injuries to the plain view. I begin moving down a hall, glancing down into the rooms as I pass, as I spot a lone nurse at the head of a stretcher. As if we were completely leisure, I step in and grab the other end. 3, 2, 1. The nurse counts up before lifting in sync with me. Letting her take the point, we join the flow of traffic outside. This one's really young, isn't she? Though it goes well initially, the nurse suddenly starts speaking to me. Yeah. I respond ambiguously as I look down on the patient at her stretcher. It was with the words the nurse said that the girl couldn't have been much older than Callie. Yes, she was missing a leg, but even burn having spread over nearly half her body. I have a little girl just like her back home. The nurse falls silent, her gaze locked straight ahead. I hope she isn't flagged. Flagged. Term that could only carry one meaning. It was as I thought. The hospital was triaging its parent. What? Triaging? Preliminary assessment of passions to determine the urgency of the need for treatment and the nature. Oh, they were ranking the people according to their burns. My eyes drift down to see to the girl despite myself, perhaps due to the nurse's influence. I can't help but see Kalia's image in the girl's light brown locks and weakly shut eyes. Everyone makes the same face when they're struggling to hold on to their life with all they have. Though I want to avert my eyes, for some reason I felt completely compelled to look. After rounding several corners, we enter a large open area where we directed to lay the stretchers down in a grid-like orientation. Taking my place among the line of nurses gathering on the end of the room, I watch on as a pair of important-looking people enter the area. You're certain there's no way director, no other way director? There's no doubt. It's identical to the 12th calamity that ravaged our homeland. A silver-haired woman with an air of authority that discussed something with the chief on the Socotrine guard. We can't save more than half of the afflicted? There must be some kind of mistake. Surely there exists evil technology that can treat it. The deviant burn cannot be treated by medical science. Not even amputation or debridement is effective. It is a death sentence that spurns the laws of the world. That we are even able to save half with a fortune our homeland never knew. Before we established this method, the case fatality rate was 100%. I see. I don't understand now why you're so quick to take the initiative. A clipboard-toting assistant runs up to the duo. Continue as planned. The subordinate nods and dispatches a group of doctors to inspect the patients lying on the ground. One by one, the doctors examine the patients before attaching colored tags to the stretcher. Black, red, black, black, red. There remains a problem though. Why do we tell the people? What do we tell the people? They are beleaguered and battered, and their frustration continues to grow by the hour. We may see violent protests if we don't continue to keep them in the dark. We alone will shoulder the truth. If a riot occurs, you will either have a clearance to suppress it through any means necessary. Nearly our entire force has been mobilized here, but I fear even that may not be enough. There is no need for an alarm. It is a last resort since they are poorly suited for non-lethal mass suppression. But the lost children are stationed here as well. They are currently carrying out patient acquisition operations at the moment. We even have a system for abducting non-compliant victims, For the sake of saving as many possible, there is no cross we will not bear. We will go to any length towards that end. That is the burden of surviving what we did back in our homeland. If this is the path we must take to save as many as we can, this is what we will do. The Socotrine guard will ensure operations in ancient news are not hindered. Our wounded people scattered by the upheaval of sudden calamity. When forced to confront the reality of their helplessness, they will search for release, anything that gives them the means to resist their powerlessness. It is a fire that cannot be dosed. Should it be forbidden from challenging the source of its frustration, its flames will simply aggress in other direction and consume something else. We can't mean a scapegoat. It happened often back in our homeland, as if a scapegoat is created, do not try to save them. We made that mistake in the past. It's not something that bears repeating in Socotrine. Let them have their scapegoat. This is how deep the pus runs in the people's hearts. Do you understand? Yes. Having finished her business with him, the director proceeds deeper into the building. Haven't we had enough sacrifices already? Hunching over weary, the chief departs from the room. Before long, the doctors finish their examination and the head nurse signals us forward. I find myself gravitating towards the previous patient, where I find the same nurse from before. Lifting her stretcher up, I begin following a stream of nurses only to stop short from a partner's resistance. Black doesn't go this way. Letting her take point, we join a different procession, our nurses heading deeper in. The ones with missing limbs are always flagged after all. Even though I knew that. Several ramps later, we arrived at the middle underground room divided by partition. There, we're directed to lift at a place patients on the other side. Upon completing our task, the majority of nurses start to leave. However, my partner doesn't budge from her spot. A departing nurse places a hand on her shoulder. You don't have to watch. But my partner shakes her head. I don't want to look away from what we're doing. When preparations are complete, a woman with steely grey eyes enters the room. It was the director from before, accompanied by a clipboard-toting shadow. Begin. At her command, a click resounds through the room. A deep rumbling begins to fill the air. Beyond the glass, the air starts simmering, and as several sections of the steel well flare up, the room was heating up. Did they intend to cook the patients alive? Unable to do anything but look on, my eyes drift over to the girl that I had carried here. That's when I notice her beginning to stir. Somebody's moving in there. Someone cries out in horror as they notice as well. The girl sits up, She looks at her hands, then she begins to scream loudly at the top of her lungs as the intense heat envelops her. The deviant burns on her hands begin glowing brightly as before surging up her body at an accelerated rate. She shocks silence grip the room as the girl collapses and begins quickly crawling along the floor. She doesn't make it far before her body is consumed and she crumbles in a glittering dust, but she consumes screaming until the very last moment. At my side, I hear a hollow thump as my partner falls to her knees. No, I couldn't have botched the infection, could I? It was as if the room had been traumatized into silence. At long last, the rumbling stops. A hissing sound fills the air as the chamber begins venting. Director, why can't we terminate the patients before doing this? The deviant burn does not spread on cadavers. Only when it finishes consuming a living subject is Estes Vitae produced. I can't do this anymore. Please, no more. We are already short on staff. Even with everyone working around the clock, there are many that are lost due to our sheer lack of manpower. You know this already. This is the burden of those in this post must bear. From now on, ensure you follow protocol and adjust the dosage properly for pediatric patients. Nothing remained of the people beyond the glass with vaguely shaped piles of glittering dust. Unfairly and without warning, the struggle had ended. I watch on as the dust swirls and coalesces into tiny elves, for one for each person that had been inside. When the room finishes cooling, we had directed to enter and collect them. The remains of the girl I had carried here, I paused before them and kneeled down. The ones before with missing limbs are always flagged after all. If I bring Kalia here, this is what will happen of her. This is how she will end up. The others as well. There was no guarantee they wouldn't be flagged. There's no other option. When no one is looking, I wrap 4 of the stones in my handkerchief and secure them on my person. Even through gloves, they had a nauseating feel to them. The skewed ratio of those that returned, the unusually tight security, and the system of designating red and black flags. Everything made sense if they were the key to curing the deviant burn. But even upon learning the truth, my objective had not changed. My next course of action, escape. I keep my eyes straight as I traverse the halls of Socotrine's main hospital. Though exiting through a side entrance would have been ideal, they had been thorough in sealing the area off from the rest of the hospital. Time was of the essence. Rather than waste time looking for a way out of the unfamiliar structure, I decided to escape via the main route. Kalia, Atun, Lynette, Diamond, I held it the key to saving them, their lives, their futures. They were an unbelievably heavy weight. But even then, I won't falter. I'll carry it all. Forward, forward. The entrance was already in sight. Just a little more. Exiting into the outside world, I find that night is set to descend before long. All that I have to do now is pass through the checkpoint. The freedom was within reach, and I control my gait with rigid discipline. Just as I'm about to escape it. Attention all challenge. Halt all personnel attempting to leave the grounds. A reverberating voice breaks the glass fog on my heart. Use of force is authorized. I stop in place. The world felt like it had gone deathly still. Hey you, stop right there. Fragile balance. Without hesitation, as I reaches out, I snatch his hand and dip, pressing his wrist back in one fluid motion. Shattered that balance. My steel flickers across his eyes to bring him to knees, finding him. God! Streams of blood chase after me as I dash off, bobbing and weaving through the crowd of onlookers. Get her! Get out of the way! Screams and shrieks pierce the air as guard detachment mobilizes to give chase. Having committed the layout of the area to memory, I knew that the closest area of Adelise was to my right. Once I break free of the throng, I make beeline for it. As I pass through the mouth of an alley, my eyes catch an order for being issued from behind. East perimeter come in. Suspect is heading in your direction through the alleys. They're wearing a nurse uniform and are armed and hostile. We intercept them. After making several turns through the convoluted alley system at full speed, I cut down on my momentum and hold my hearing. The sound of pounding footsteps, positioning myself behind the next corner, I wait until my target on the verge of passing before leaping from the shadows with a high ankle feint. Caught off guard, he lifts his sword over his head to try and parry the fox attack, but before our blades make contact, I drop down and close in, pressing his elbow up to prevent him from bringing his blade to bear. tracing a dark arc through his collar. I plunged past him with straight and start running in the direction he had come from. However, I find the coverage to be tighter than expected. I was getting boxed in. Eyeing a door at the end of the alley, I rattled it only to find it locked. It appeared to be an old spring-loaded mechanism without a bolt. Sipping my knife through the door slit, I pried the jammed striker plate as far away from the frame as it would go. Then wedging through a throwing knife into the keyhole, I yank around it in an attempt to cause as much damage as possible. When I hear a DoTA clatter, I draw back and I kick the area next to the doorknob as hard as I can. The door swings open as the wood gives in and the lock falls apart. Footsteps on my six. Someone's almost right on top of me. Leaping inside, I grab the door and swing it backwards with all my might. Rather than flee in further, I stand my ground. The moment the door swings open from a target's barreling figure, I whip the throwing knife at his face. Gah! My target stumbles as the knife sinks into his eye socket. Before he hits the ground, I step in and around his sword, my blade flashing through his cartridge, trailing away into the sound of an arterial spray. I press deeper into the visibly abandoned house. Beyond one of the windows was an open area. I snapped the rusty fastenings with dive outside as the sound of pounding footsteps echoes through the building. As I roll back to my feet, I retrieve a throwing knife and hurl it at the window as pursuers try to follow. A cry of pain rings out as the lead doubles over, temporarily blocking the exit point. 2 throwing knives left. Locating a series of alleys leading away from the open area, I take off with a due haste. Escape was imminent at this rate. I had scoped this area out thoroughly beforehand. However, several turns later, I'd come to a crushing halt. I had forgotten to take something into account. A wall of rubble that must have fallen from the surrounding unstable building was blocking my path to freedom. Though I try to double back, I find myself cornered. It was an area in the process of clearing away debris, so there were few escape points. In that case, I'll have to fight 3 enemies. Careful, she's dangerous. The guys ready at their swords as they fan out to encircle me. Acting before they can completely surround me, I launch myself at one of the grass on my flank. Watch out, however, it is only a fiend. At the sound of footsteps behind us, twisted and waved for throwing now the second guard as it rushes forward to cover his comrade. The knife lances into his arm, causing his sword to fly out before him. Reversing my momentum, I snatch the sword out of the air and sink it to his owner's neck. As I drop back, I crouch and spin away as the third guard slashes a wide arc at my hand. Anticipating a remise on my hand, I slide and I kick off the wall before me, crossing my opponent up as he lunges forward. As I do, I hurl my final throwing knife into the back of his knee, crippling as I roll on my feet. Onto my right, hitting an oncoming attack from my first guard, I twist and try to parry. However, the angle is off and I end up being thrown off balance by overpowering strike. In that split second, I knew I couldn't evade the next attack. Resolving to take the blow, I lunge forward in desperate counterattack, gouging into my opponent's throat as the base of his blade cleaves onto my flank. Pressing the pain spikes through my body as I pull free and stagger away. I only managed to several steps before collapsing though. Damn you! As the last remaining guard limps over me and raises his sword, I finally find a desperate shells of energy grips my body. I deny it. Gripping my knife by the blunt of the blade, I muster all my remaining strength to whip it skyward. The cacophony of sound fills the air as the pulley system lifting the rubble overhead gives. Though my target senses the debris plummeting towards him due to his injured leg, he is unable to avoid being helplessly crushed. Gah, gah, gah. Okay. Having dove away to avoid the carnage, I pull myself through the dust until I reach a wall. Using it to support my body, I force myself to my feet despite the searing pain. I need to get away from here. Sticky, warm, wet. As I stumble down the street, I feel my organs try to spill out from under my hand. Sensing a large amount of footsteps, I had myself in the shadow of the building. She came in this way, did she? A group of townspeople bearing torches and impromptu weapons were sweeping the streets. The rumor says she's been using her role as a nurse to steal the hospital's only way of curing the burns. Even though so many people need it, how awful. She's been diluting the salve and selling it at inflated rates in order to make a fortune. I heard it from someone she tried to sell it to. How unforgivable. The kidnappings too, she must be behind them as well. How dare she exploit this tragedy in order to profit from our suffering? We can't let her get away with this. We can't let her get away. What? What is this? A bloodlust so palpable it felt glowing as was emanating from them. Didn't matter how true any of it was they were saying was. It was like an echo chamber. Their wish for an enemy to direct their anger and frustration to us was so overpowering they were willing to discard even their rationality. Damn it! I won't be able to make it back at this rate. Our old place is near here. When the mob passes, I dip into my dwindling reserves of strength and lug my heavy body to a certain beat-up building. Valerie and I had once called this place home in the past. I need to regain my strength and think of something. Nudging the door closed behind me, I tumble to the ground as pain intensity overtakes me. Footsteps and muffled shouts ring through the twilight outside as I try to control my ragged breathing. Unable to loosen my guard, I cling on to consciousness, causing time to stretch into an indeterminable haze. At that moment, the doorknob suddenly starts jangling. A shiver runs through my body as the door slowly swings open. With trembling arms, I push myself to the ground. I need to fight. Even if I didn't have my weapon, I couldn't let it end here. I need to fight back. Summoning the last of my distance, I lash out desperately at the dark figure looming over me. However, my hand only brushes weakly against him. Amy? Is that you? Amy? A familiar voice. Mallory? Why was he here? What happened? Who did this to you? She cries out in a hushed voice as she brings her face close to me. I messed up. The tension leaks from my body as I collapse to the ground. Pulling bandages and cloths from her bag, Mallory begins stripping me and applying first aid. As she tends me, I lift my leaden arm and unwrap her handkerchief I had been holding close right now. These things, they're the way to cure the burns. Take them and go. After delivering the message, I let my arm drop back to the ground. I shut my eyes. Now even if I died, it wouldn't be in vain. Gal in a tune, linnet and diamond. With this, they'll be saved. Mallory. When Mallory doesn't respond, I force my eyes open. Amy, you idiot! Her outburst turns me into silence. I thought you promised. Why? Why do you always have to pay all the weight alone? Mallory, you're always like this. Always leaving me behind, always trying to go somewhere by yourself. Don't you understand how scary and lonely it is? Wondering where you are? Wondering if you're safe? I hate it. Something hard and wet begins to drip onto my bare skin. You know, I've been looking for someone all day. When I couldn't find them anywhere, I didn't know what to think. She's someone very dear to me. We've been through so much together. But sometimes she puts a wall around herself, isolating herself and never letting me worry about her. Even though it hurts so much when she does that, I could never bear the thought of losing her, you know? When Mallory finishes dressing up her wound, she begins doing something unexpected. She begins stripping off her clothes and putting the uniform I'd been wearing on. What are you doing? Dread begins to well up in the pit of my stomach as I realize what she's trying to do. Even now the sound of voices slamming doors are drawing closer. You're being chased. Her voice was calm and steady, but not even the darkness could hide the trembling figure. No, don't! Ignoring me, she started dressing me in her original clothes. Those people have lost their minds. Even if she managed to turn herself in, not even the guards would be able to protect her. I know. That's why we can't let them find you. Don't go. I grab her hand as she secures the handkerchief containing the cure back on me. Amy, for as long as I can remember, you've always been the one protecting me. I'm not as strong as you, or as clever as you, but even then I have things I want to protect. Idiot! What are you trying to protect with all these hands that are shivering so much? Please take care of my children. They're just like their mother after all. Little crybabies that get lonely easily but try to act strong. Mallory smiles that cute, stupid smile of hers. The smile twists and clenches something in me. It breaks and burns me. Goodbye, Amy. No, I'll see you later. Her voice quivers as she slips free of my grasp, leaving my outstretched hand behind. I wanted to stop her. I wanted to stop her with every fiber of my being, but there was no enough any strength in my body. Even now the darkness would be encroaching on my vision. No, stop! I try to push the darkness back. Stop. But you're unable to resist any longer. I sink into the deep sea at the image of her receding back burned into my eyes. A sepia dream. Amy, you're making that face again. Her calmness only made by furry coat. Why? You don't have to get angry for my sake. She continues to water her crops patiently, tenderly. It was frustrating. Aren't you bitter? Aren't you crying? I am, but it's better to be hurt than hurt another. To hurt another. If striking back only repeats the cycle, somebody must be there to not strike. Somebody must be the one to not strike back. That doesn't guarantee they'll stop. What if they keep hurting you? Even if it takes a while, I believe that they'll stop. Because I believe, in spite of everything, that people are truly good at heart. I couldn't accept what he was saying. The only way to ensure someone stops hurting you is to make sure they can't anymore. You know, when you hurt others like that, you end up hurting yourself as well. She stops and stands there quietly for a moment before looking back at me with a sad smile. That's why it always seems like you're in pain, Amy. I force my eyes open with a gasp. Mallory. I need to find Mallory. Wincing at a throbbing pain in my side, I pull myself to my feet. At first, I couldn't make sense of where I was heading, but before long, I realized I'd consciously set a path towards the Bethia household. Gah! Every step sent barbs of pain spiking through my body, but I couldn't afford to slow down. Leaning against the wall to catch my breath, I gather myself and push forward. Mummy! A voice suddenly calls out as I near my destination. The door swings open and a figure limps out. It's Auntie? Mallory, your mother, where's your mother? I choke out a barely coherent question in between my ragged breath, but although it only makes a troubled expression. Mummy hasn't come back yet. What? A surge of electricity crashes over me at alert response. Auntie! Lynette and Dia give them each one of these. I press two of the glittering souls into Adelaise's hands before staggering back to the streets. My wound rips open as I break into a shambling gate, tying my bandages as a fresh shade of red. But I don't stop. Please let her be safe. Dizzyingly fast, yet nauseatingly slow, time taunts me. No matter how much I try to push my body forward, it felt distant and unresponsive, like moving against an underwater current. I'm almost there. Once I clear the top of the hill, I'll be able to see it. Ancient news, Socotrine's main hospital, a place that bore an unspeakable secret. Digging my hand into the earth, I jaw myself to the peak. However, the scene that greets me offers nothing but despair. The area was vast in a sickening sea of light. Torches. The source of light was a sea of torches. Sees the region. The people bearing the torches were crying out for blood. Sees the region so many haven't returned. Mallory, oh god. This was Mallory, oh my god. She was there at the head of the crowd, hanging from the oarlog, her arms bound by rope, someone I knew well, someone that meant the world to me, someone I couldn't bear to live without. You shameless monster, the crowd roars out. There were children who needed a cure. How could you? Mallory's head whips back as a rock soars through the air and strikes her. A thick line of blood begins to trace down her face, but even then she doesn't move, doesn't say a thing. She's not human, she's killed 5 guards and injured 2, and she even admitted to it. Mallory, why? I saw her running from the hospital earlier today. Oh my darling, what did he ever do to you? He was just doing his duty and you killed him. You killed him, you monster. You witch. The sea of torches stirs and undulates like the belly of a massive beast. It was as if the world had sparked a madness in them. Kill the witch, and our earthly chant stepped with instantly. It spread over the little people like a contagion, submerging and stripping them of their individual consciousness. The accused had pled guilty to all the charges against her. No, stop. Tumbling down the hill, I throw myself against a rolling mob, under the anonymous description of all that are present. Stop, she's not a witch, but it's no use. My voice gets drowned out. My body goes around like a rag doll. The people sentence her to a summary execution. The crowd shifts and surges as they finally give in the words they wish to hear. She is not a witch. Why won't my cries reach anyone? It's me. I'm the witch. They didn't care about the truth. They didn't care about how full of holes her account was. They just wanted someone to lash out at. A sacrifice, someone to take the burden of their anger and sorrow. It was a witch hunt. Mallory, kill her! I watch on as the candle falls. Watch on as it hits the ground, as it ignites the oil, and transforms the world. Burn her! The fire dyes the sky a hellish glow, but rather than state their bloodlust, it only seems to amplify it. Rock after rock, torch after torch, and curse after curse. Without end, they felt her defenseless figure. Burn the witch! It wasn't enough to kill her. They wanted to trample everything of hers into the ground, to grind her memory into dust. Oh no, why had I forgotten? People are monsters. When driven into a corner, they turn on each other, devouring each other, eating away at each other, until nothing remains, nothing but ash. The world will kill and eat. I had known that. The world will kill and eat, but why? So why had I forgotten? The world will kill and eat. Why? Hello it. Yes, Vinny. When are Mom and Papa coming out? They'll be back soon, Auntie said. She said the adults are going to be busy. So it's my job to look after you and Dia. So, and if Auntie says so, they'll definitely be back. I'm hungry. I hope Dia finds something for us to eat soon. There's nothing left in the kitchen, right? Nope, nothing. Dia went outside to look for food, and I gave Linny and Dia the pebbles Auntie gave me. They got all better. But even though it stopped spreading on Linny, it still covered a lot of Linny. She couldn't move well, so she was in bed. I feel bad. Does it hurt? Oh, hey, not like that. You and Dia are doing your best. I'm just laying here and sleeping. But that's not Linny's fault. Although it knows, Linny can sing. Cheers up. Oh yeah, I just remember I learned a new song. I don't know what the words mean, but it's really pretty and it's about you. Hello, it wants to hear. Okay. I'll do my best. Linny takes a deep breath. Hello, it. Gentle, hello. Low to the fall. Yete bloomerai ya yete. Yete bloomerai la yete. What? How? Why am I speaking French now? I have no idea what that means. I have no idea if I'm saying it right. But I'm singing French. Et la tete. Hello it there. The door marks a loud sound. Then I threw it open. Dia, what happened to you? Dia was breathing a lot. He looked messy. You're hurt. I got into a fight. Why would you do that? Oh dear, you're bruised all over. They kept saying stupid things. It made no sense. Where did it hurt you? Aluit, can you help him? Yeah, Aluit will help. No, they didn't hurt me. I got hurt when I fell through them. Fell through them? No matter how much I tried to hit them, I couldn't touch them. No, maybe it was my imagination. Maybe they weren't there to begin with. Or ghost. No, not ghost. Dear. There grabs into his hand. Just stop already, no more. He throws the curtain. Outside looked different. It wasn't what was supposed to be there. It's this damn mist. No matter where I go, I don't go anywhere. No matter what I see, no one's there. It's just us. It's just us in the world. Dia falls to the ground. He starts crying. What's happening? What's going on? The room becomes quiet, except for Dia's crying. Hey, hello it. Mom and Papa are coming back, right? Yeah, they're definitely coming back. Where are they? I missed them. I hugged Dia. They'll be back soon. So let's do our best, okay? Yete plumerai, leia. Yete plumerai, leia. Hello ete, Linny, your voice sounds strange. That's weird. What's that? Oh, the front door. I think Dia's back. Maybe it's found something. Dia? Dia looks strange. He was all messy. Dia, what's wrong? Mom and Papa aren't coming back home. What are you talking about? We're all alone now. The way you looked scared me. Dia, no, it's just a dream. It's just a dream we have to wake up from. That's right. I just have to wake up. Dia goes into his room. He closes the door. Dia doesn't come out for a long time. It's quiet in his room. I'm worried. So I go to check. He's sleeping. Dia? It was dark. The curtains were closed. Dia, what are you doing? He was hanging out from the ceiling. Hanging from the ceiling? He wasn't moving. Are you sleeping? You should cover up, else you get cold. Take him down. You see, you're already so cold. I tuck him into bed. That's better. You must be sleepy. I'll do it. We'll leave the curtains closed. Night, Dia. Yete plumerai leile. Yete plumerai leile. Allo ete. Linny doesn't have to sing if she's tired. Okay, I think I'll sleep a little then. Okay, Aloit would stay at Linny's side. Aloit would watch over Linny. I pat Linny's head. Sweet dreams, Linny. Night. Hello, Ate. So this is where I end the stream for today, guys. I am gonna save this. It has been such a long adventure, guys. Yep, June 8th, 16:05. This is where I ended the last stream as well, I think. The way I saved it right here, 16:00. I think this means it is 4:05 p.m. It has been quite a while since I started streaming, so I think it's time for me to go. Okay, I'm gonna skip through all of this once again to see how much we have still left to see. But that's gonna be it for this stream. I'll see you with the next one. Alright. This thing. Okay, this thing. And then this thing. And then comes this thing. Okay, then this thing. Finally. Then finally this thing again, once again, and then again. And we are so close to the end. We can finish this tomorrow, guys. We can do it. Yes. We are really close to the end now. I mean, yeah, still this one. Still this one. A mini, right? Oh, bruh, this is brutal. Anyways, we just go in. This is still long. Still long way to go. Yeah, we can do it. Okay, right? Okay, another one of those. And after that, she's dead, and then okay, carry ice cream. Just reading this thing, okay, goes on, alright. Okay, just finish it off. Like, how long is this? Wow. Okay, finally we are here. Finally we are in this thing. Okay, this is where we are, and cheering up. This is so long though. This conversation seems so long. This is gonna take 1 hour in itself. So we still have 3 more hours to go, I think. Wow. We finally see Adelise back again. That's good. She tries to kiss, I think. Both or something? Yeah, maybe both. Wow, this is long. This is long. Whoa, this is the end for today's stream, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. And I don't think more than one person joined the stream, but even if you didn't, I just wanted to finish this game. I don't want to keep something as it is. I want to finish it. Bye bye.